Hi there everybody! Today we're going to be doing another witchy video. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these and they're definitely overdue. Today I wanted to talk about the various pagan paths because this is something that a lot of new witches can really get tripped up on, and even some people who have been witches for a long time tend to get a little bit confused about paths. Now, chances are a lot of you have heard the terms pagan path before. Chances are a lot of you have heard the words pagan path before, but you might not be aware of the fact that it kind of carries two different meanings depending on what you're talking about. One meaning of pagan path is the type of paganism you practice, such as Hellenic, Norse, Celtic, fairy, dragon, things like that. And that is the one that people are more familiar with. And the other interpretation of pagan path is dark and light, or left and right. And that's the bit that really tends to confuse people because, unfortunately, with the way that society has conditioned us, we automatically view light and dark as very monochromatic things. One is good and one is bad, and that's simply not true. Even a lot of people within the pagan community tend to get really confused about that and think, oh, well, if you are someone who follows the right-hand path, it means that you're just this really good person who cares about other people and helps animals and stuff, and you're just this wonderful, beautiful, divine being. And that if you're someone who practices the left-hand path, it means you're this dark, sinister, horrible thing that, loves torture and harming people and, casting curses and everything. And that's just not true. And what we have to remember when we're talking about pagan paths is the fact that, as I've mentioned before on this channel, nothing in paganism is one way or the other. Everything needs to happen in balance. Without balance, the universe falls into chaos. So everything's in balance. And that means that even the right and left-hand paths are something that are in balance. It means that if you are someone who practices the right-hand path, it simply means you're someone who follows light beings. Things like fairies and mermaids and, lighter deities and elementals and things like that. Whereas if you are following the left-hand path, you're more likely to be like a draconic witch or something. If you've ever spoken to a draconic witch, someone who predominantly works with dragons, technically that is someone who follows the left-hand path and who follows the darker path. But if you sit there and get to know them, they're not bad people. They're not these horrible, sinister people at all. They're simply people who are more attracted to these darker beings. Why are they called darker beings and not lighter beings? It's because they kind of force you to drudge up the darker aspects of who you are as a person and of the mistakes you've made in your life. And this isn't to cause you harm or to cause anyone else harm. It's simply meant to help you balance your life better. You can't have balance in your life if you think everything you've done is wonderful, or if you think you've never made a mistake before, or if you're like, well, I didn't like this thing that happened in my life, so I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen. So it's really important at times to face the fact that you're a human being and you have done bad things in the past, and that doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. So I've noticed, out in the world of the internet, there's a lot of witches who think that if someone follows the left hand or the dark path, it means they're bad. And now hopefully you can kind of enlighten them and help them understand that's not what that means at all. And As for me, I have mentioned the type of witch I am before on this channel, but not for a little while. I am a gray witch. You don't necessarily just have to be light or dark, left or right. I fall directly in the middle. Everything I do is partially light and partially dark, depending on the circumstances. I will cast, reverse hexes and return to senders, and, if the situation calls for it, I might do a minor curse to help someone if they are in desperate need, but it isn't something that I prefer to do in my day-to-day life. I also like to go out and converse with the fairies and, spend time with light beings, and I do a lot of light magic where I'm trying to help people live better lives and be happier overall. So I definitely am gray. I fall in the middle. It doesn't make me better or worse than anyone who is strictly light or strictly dark. It just means that I'm kind of a mix of the two. It is going to take you some time to determine which path is right for you, and don't be discouraged if it takes you a while and you think, wow, this is really taking me a long time. You're not doing anything wrong. It takes a lot to figure it out. You might spend years trying to figure out exactly where you fall, and it's going to change. It's going to fluctuate over time. You don't have to stick to a singular path, whether we're talking about, the type of witchcraft you practice or dark and light, your entire life. Certain things will happen throughout your life that may call you to try a different branch, and maybe it's darker than before or lighter than before or squarely in the middle, and that's fine. You'll just be taken down a new path, and the universe will choose the path that's best for you when the time comes. I hope this video has helped you understand this whole pagan path stuff a little bit better. And as always, do something that makes you happy today, no matter what anyone else thinks about it, and I'll see you all soon.